Oh, wow. Underestimated the amount of people here. Apologize in advance if I talk really fast. That's a nervous habit. But like he said, I'm Crystal. I grew up in a fairly religious household. We went to church every Sunday, and most weeks we went on Wednesdays as well. We slowly drifted away from the church, but I still somewhat believed in a higher power. Just like a normal teenager, though, I find myself slowly moving away from it and losing interest. I've always been a person that hides my discomfort or feelings with humor. Feel uncomfortable? Make a joke. Going through something? A joke. Everyone will think you're fine and leave you alone if you're joking and happy. At the age of 14, I thought I finally found a friend that would make everything better. That was when I met alcohol for the first time. I was too busy being a jock at that point in my life to really get into that, but boy did that change later in life. My senior year of college is when I really started letting alcohol console me on everything I had bottled up for years. I was drinking to hide the pain of childhood trauma no one even knew about, then drinking to get rid of the hangover, drinking just to drink, etc., etc. That led to a 12-year downhill roller coaster of lost jobs, relationships, multiple suicide attempts, 2 DUIs, not to mention the tens of thousands of dollars I had lost. The resentment I feel that I always believed was against other people and God for making me deal with these things, it was actually a resentment for myself. It wasn't the childhood trauma feeding me the drinks. God himself sure wasn't handing them to me. I had to finally own up and admit I was a problem that no one else was. I was at the point in my life that I was pretty much outside, watching myself turn into a person I never thought I'd become. Not only had I put my family through the ringer with late-night drunk calls, I was also seeing myself be the biggest piece of trash in my relationship. It was the day after yet another crazy blackout that I looked at my phone and saw the confirmation for a plane ticket to Kansas for later that day. Through the bloodshot eyes and blurred vision, my first thought was, what did you do? We all have those moments, I think. Little did I know that this was God, because less than 8 hours before, I had a loaded handgun taken from my hands. This was the second time in a year that my dumb self called my parents and they put me on a plane ticket to get help. God works in mysterious ways because I actually got on that plane that day. It wasn't until I was sitting in rehab for the second time within a year, talking on the phone, that I knew something had to change. That call was to an 8-year-old little girl that has me wrapped around her finger. She asked where I was and said, I hope it works, but I don't think it will. The giant knot in my stomach of knowing I had lost her trust opened my tearful eyes. I decided that day something had to change. My dad had sent me to rehab with a devotional message book, and I opened it up after that phone call. The message read, you must learn to love yourself before you can love anyone else. Boy, did that hit hard that day. This was the day I came back to really believing in the power of God. On December 27th, 2020, less than a week out of rehab, I walked through the doors of CrossRoads Church. During the worship songs, I cried like a little baby, and I knew I was home. The following Tuesday, I attended CR for the first time. I had never felt more comfortable sharing with a room full of strangers than I did on that Tuesday. It wasn't until the service Certainty in Uncertain Times, I decided to share my story. Acknowledging you fall short and confessing your sins is part of the 12 steps in AA and was discussed in this sermon. Love God intensely and the rest of life will straighten out is also a quote from that sermon that day. That is exactly how my life is going. I still have tons of uncertainty in my life, but with the faith we hold for our forever forgiving Father will always guide us through. With the help of CrossRoads Church, the CR program, and God, I can honestly say that my life is turning around. I have been able to repair the relationships I saw tearing apart in front of me. The 2 loves of my life have since moved to Kansas, and I plan on spending the rest of my life showing them and everyone else the person I was meant to be, not the person I was. And with that, I have this sweet little handy app that I am 154 days sober, 3,697 hours, and still counting. Thank you. I am a firm believer if you give yourself to God, He will change you and your life in ways that you never thought imaginable. Thank you.